Klippet presenteras av Kalix Maskiner, Centus biluthyrning, Lindroths webbutik och Norrvakt.
Välkommen till Vårat Gäng, en podd av och med Luleå Hockey. Och idag har vi med oss Lubos Bartecko. Welcome here, Lubos.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So how do you feel about being back in Luleå again?
Feels very, very real now. I never really thought I was going to come back here. But ever since we've talked and, like having this honor to be here, like I was very excited and it was no brainer for me to come here. And now we're here with my family and feels really, really, really good. Like it just because coming back to the environment that really was the best environment in my hockey career. It's just, it was really nice to see and then be back here, like surrounded with same people that are, were here 15 years ago. It's great. It's great to be here.
You brought your wife and also your two daughters. Eva was very young when she was here, and Isabella wasn't even born.
Yeah. So we have, my wife's, she's like, because I asked her, like, do you want to come? She's like, absolutely. Like, she loved it here. She loved, everything around it here. So she's like, let's go, except the winter, the cold. But and then I had Eva and then Dominic, which Dominic is, he's in college, playing college hockey. So he couldn't come here. He would have. But he had a game yesterday, so like he's not here. And then we have another daughter, that Isabella, she's 12 now. So we didn't have her when she was here, and she was probably the most excited one to come here because she never really experienced Sweden. So yeah, we're here, and it's awesome to be here.
I want to come back to Luleå in a while, but let's start from the beginning. You grew up in Czechoslovakia even, born 1976. What was it like growing up there in communist Czechoslovakia?
It was interesting, considering the fact that time changed over a period of time. But like for me, we always, go back and talk about it. Like I think it was really good era for us that we didn't know better. But at the same time, there was no, distractions around, and it was great for our childhood and hanging out with friends and talking to them. It was very, very different. But we were controlled by Communist Party, and we were controlled. We had only 2 channels we could do. We couldn't travel outside of the, Slovakia unless you had permissions and all that stuff. All the restrictions were there, but at the same time, that's all we knew, and it was, it was nothing to complain about. It was just a time, but now it's very different. But it was, I think, I always look back and the memories that we created with our friends. It was great. So it was great for me.
And how was the hockey program when you started playing and then developing?
Very different because now people have to pay for it. Back then it was paid by government. So it was really good to see that we had a lot of kids, coming into tryouts, and like the development, everything was there for us. We could use whatever we wanted. So it was great. And, we had a lot of success growing up when I was playing for the national team. So that led to that success because we had, the childhood, the development that we needed. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So I'm very grateful for that. Now it's very different. But there's always, you can put time and money into it if you want to. But it was great. Like it was we had a great group of kids. It's been really different that we stay. Like we had a class. It was our hockey team. Now they don't do that anymore. So like our class in a grade school, started from 4th grade, and 5th, 6th. So like we had the same kids up until you went to high school, playing together, training together, spending time together. I think now it's the difference that people don't understand, that if you have the team and you growing up together and you're developing together, you have this, you share the same goals, same values, and same everything. It'll get you. And that's where, when I look back, how many players from our team made it compared to now, if you look at it, it's a little bit different. So it was great.
And did you have to focus on hockey right away, or did you do other sports as well?
So, our main focus was hockey, but our biggest priorities, you know, and especially in the summers where like when the season was over, obviously the ice was melted from the moment the season was over. And then we started, you know, skating not until late, you know, July. So like that's where we were playing soccer. Like our whole team was playing soccer in the soccer league as well. So like we played soccer as a team against soccer, you know, players. And then we played a lot of tennis. So like our main focus was really multi-sport. On developing. I guess they all had it, you know, down now. So like I love playing other sports. So like we played a lot of other sports, and street hockey was big because like the way we lived and the way we, you know, we had like street hockey tournaments and street hockey leagues outside of, you know, the hockey that we really played. So that was big. But yeah, I was big in soccer. Like I love playing soccer.
And I guess the timing was perfect for you in '93 when Czechoslovakia split up between Czech and Slovakia, and it was possible to travel outside the country freely, and you went over to North America.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And then my story is very interesting because everyone who was in Slovakia had to enter the military service. So for me, it was, you know, when I had my 18 years old, I had to go to military, so I did. Went to military service, and you know, I was in military service. I entered the service in April, and then I think in May I got drafted to Quebec Junior Major League. But if you enter the military service, that's it. You can't go anywhere. Yep. Like you just done for a year, and you know, I was playing there and all that. So, but my mom somehow she did something. I don't know what she did. She wrote letters and like, you know, talked to those people, and she got me out of that military, like a pause, like, or whatever you want to call it. And whenever I was done playing hockey, because nobody really thought I was going to stay there for long. And then I was going to come back and finish. But ever since I left, that was it. And my career from there took off, and I was done with military service. And then they changed the rules, so I didn't have to go back.
And how was it moving over to North America as a European?
Oh, it was it was rough, but at the same time, you know, like for me, I just didn't really care. I went to, you know, the country that I'd never been to. I went to the country that really didn't speak that language at all. The culture was completely different. You know, for me, I've always been a guy that like my, you know, goal was to play hockey, and I wanted to play hockey. So like, why am I going there? I went there to play hockey, not to sightseeing, not to, you know, do so. My only goal was I went to, you know, my billet family, practice, back to billet family, practice. And, you know, second priority was language, because if you want to survive anywhere, you have to learn the language. Now, English is everywhere, so it's easier, but even that you have to learn. So, like, I learned the language first. And then, you know, when you start communicating with coaches, that was very important that you communicate. So, and that was the biggest priority for me after hockey. So I learned that by December, my first year, and then on and on. But, you know, the adjustment is huge for anybody, you know, how quickly you can adjust. And for me, it was just a matter of time that I can take.
And that focus also gave you a good start. You had a really good first season. You moved teams going into the second.
Yeah, so like that was really like I went there. I was 19 already, so like technically I was in my third year or whatever you want to call it. But like I went there, and again, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what the quality of the league was. I had no idea. I didn't know what it was going to be. For me, I didn't know if they're going to send me back. I had no idea. You know, I just wanted to go there and play. And then I did. Had a really good season. And then the second year, Drummondville wanted to trade me for play with Danny Briere. And they did. And I went there. Had a really good season there. Created a lot of, you know, good connections and good friendships that I still, you know, have till today. So, and, you know, and from there, just took off and, you know, didn't get drafted, but went to tryout back in the days. Now it's a little bit different again. And from there, it just took off.
I think the biggest thing for Briere, looking back at his career, was playing here for Eisbären Berlin in the European Trophy in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
No, but that was a solid class player. Had a great NHL career after that. And then after those 2 junior years, you got a shot to to take a spot on an AHL team?
Yeah, so I went home after the my last year of junior, which was age out year, and my agent back then that I met through some people, again, I had no idea how that works. So, you know, and then I just found that agent that, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. Went home, they're like, you know, the draft, because my numbers were good and, you know, like everything was good, but my age was not good, you know, back in the, again, I had no idea how that works. I was just like, really, well, I was a top 10 in the league, whatever, and then didn't get drafted. I'm like, okay. And agent was like, well, just be patient. We'll get you somewhere, you know. And so like, and then during that summer, I got a call and it's like, hey, I got you tryout to go to St. Louis. And I was like, great, I'm going. For me, it was, again, I had no idea how the NHL works. I had no idea, you know, I was there for 2 years, but learning for me, it was all about the opportunity. I got the opportunity. I had to be ready for that. And I trained all summer. I did all this stuff, not really focusing on draft or whatever. I was just focusing on, you know, to be ready for that tryout so I could make an impact, you know. So, and again, I would just go in there with open-minded, no pressure at all. I just, you know, wanted to be the best I can be every day and you know, hopefully land a contract. And I went there and I really, I guess, made an impact. They sent me as the last, you know, group down to the Worcester, and they offered me contract the next day, just entry level, you know, normal, and from there, and you know, it was again a story that it's very interesting. So
yeah, and you played in the AHL, and how was that like?
That was actually really good. It was I had a really good coach. Like always, for some reason, when I have coaches that I kind of like get along, but at the same time don't get along, because those coaches who really hold you accountable for everything and have high expectations and you don't do that, they're really hard on you.
Yep.
And this is what happened there. Like I had a coach who was Greg, his name was Greg Gilbert, played a long time in the NHL. And again, he was very good off ice. He was very good communicating with players, but when it came down to the on-ice performance, if you didn't, he was very hard on you. So, like, I had a lot of confrontation with him like that, but at the same time, taught me a lesson, and that's where, you know, it got me really to be the best I could be. So, and I'm very, very thankful for those people. And, you know, like, if I'm looking back, it was him. And then, you know, after a year and a half, got call-up and, you know, on, and I went to St. Louis. Quenneville, same thing. Very high, you know, expectation guy, like great coach. Obviously, he had a great career. He was starting back then. But again, I went there. It was just like same thing, right? Like if you were playing really good, like he was, but if you're not, you know, he holds you accountable for everything. So again, huge lesson for me. And from there, it was great. Like, you know, it just took off. But like playing in American League back then was really, really different than it is now, because that was the only place to kind of go to the NHL. That was the road, not, you know, Europe or college or anything like that. So that was the only place. And we had a great group of guys. A lot of, you know, those guys that I played with, they continue on playing in the NHL and playing, you know, having a good career. So we had a really good group.
And how was it being on a team with guys like Dimitra or Pronger?
Oh my gosh, that was something that I never forget. It just, again, it gives you a taste of reality where you are, and then how, you know, everything it should be. And again, for me, it was being we were probably the top, you know, 5 teams in the NHL back then, won the President's Trophy. Didn't go the Stanley Cup run as everyone, you know, we wanted to, but like just being on that team, like it gives you a huge, huge lesson that, you know, like you're surrounded with players that are the superstars and, you know, are at the highest level, and just seeing how everyone, you know, is treating their day, like how their, you know, routines are, how their preparation for the game. It just like teaches you everything about the highest level of sport. And that's where you hit the reality where you're like, you think you're there, but then when you get to the preparation, the habits, the, you know, like everything around it, you're like, okay, I'm not there. So this is where I have to step up my game. And, you know, now it's really, when I look back, those are the things that I really look back, and I want to really, you know, being in hockey still here in, you know, in Nashville and St. Louis, and, you know, training the kids and teaching the kids, just kind of like giving them everything what I've learned and what I should have done, and I, giving them what they need to do. It's really, really, I'm thankful for that, because that's the only thing that really I know how to do. But being with them, it was very, very, very good for me. Because I learned a lot, but at the same time create a lot of good friendships. And now we can, till today, like when I go back to St. Louis, I still go to the games sometimes, and I still go to the alumni box that we have there, and then meet all these guys. It's the best thing to be part of, because that's what it's all about.
And it's a tough thing to make a full NHL career. You were there for 4 full seasons with St. Louis and with Atlanta. What made you move back to Europe after that?
Well, this is another, I can talk about this for forever, and that's another thing, when you hit that highest level, it's great. It's all, it's awesome. Like you're celebrating, and you're like, you're at your top, but staying on top is the hardest thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And looking back into my career, there are several things that I would have changed. But again, that's like not a complaint. That's like a learning lesson. But staying at the top is the hardest thing. Mm-hmm. What made me come back here was, again, part of it was, the ego that people have. And then part of it was just the opportunity that I lost, I guess, over the, my 5 years that I've been there. And then I just kind of like stopped doing what I was supposed to do, maybe not, I don't know, but I blame it on myself, everything, that I haven't had, another 100 games or another 200 games in the NHL, or another game in the NHL. I blame it on myself, but again, it was a great opportunity for me to come back here to Europe, and, it was awesome. Like, I just didn't have what I wanted, and I maybe should have went back to the American Hockey League and maybe stayed, one more, but I just didn't want to, because I thought I was the NHL player. And sometimes taking a step back, it takes you 2 steps forward. And I didn't want to do that for some reason. So, but again, I had a great, great career in Europe, and I'm looking really back to it, and I'm here, and this is one of the awesome things that hockey players get to do is you get to travel, but again, NHL is the hardest, or the highest level. That's the NHL is the hardest thing to stay there. So,
and now we're at the 2005-2006 season. You hear that a team like Luleå is wanting you. Did you know anything about us or the Swedish league, or did you know anyone who played here, or what was it like back then?
So I went back to after my NHL, I went back to Czech Republic, Sparta Prague. The only reason why I went there was, and not went to KHL, was because my wife was pregnant and I wanted to stay home, closer to home, so my mom can come and help and all that stuff. So we went there, played season in Sparta. It was great. It was awesome. Great experience. Dominic was born, my son. It was awesome. After that, I went to KHL. Spent 3 years there. And then my really good friend Jaroslav Obshut, who was playing here at that time, I just didn't want to be in KHL anymore, just because I just wanted to go somewhere where I'm going to have normal life, normal culture, normal everything. And when I was talking to Jaroslav, he was like, "Why don't you, come to Luleå or like Sweden or like, and then so that's where we talked with our agent, and then Luleå came and they offered me great opportunity. And I felt like when you talk to people, when you talk to organizations, and, the first thing that I always tell everyone, even my son, when you go to junior leagues, when you go everywhere, like you make sure that organization, that coaching staff, they are really passionate about, and they want to have your presence there, and they want to have your hockey expertise there to help their team to win the games, to win the championship, whatever it is. Not just because your name came up or whatever it is. And that was the thing that I came, and it felt like I had to come here, because it felt really good just talking to my agent, talking to Yaro, that he was talking like how great, the environment and the culture is and everything. And that was it for me. Like, I just felt like this was the team. And when I came here, that's exactly what it was.
And he was here for a long time as well. And I guess, do you guys talk on the regular, and do you even talk about Luleå from time to time?
Oh yeah, we talk all the time. Like, you know, with Yara, with Obi, we always, you know, he's back in Slovakia, I'm in America, so like we text each other, you know, and communicate, and we still, when we played for national team, you know, and we always talk about places that we really had great time, and Luleå is one of them that we always talk about, and not just with him, but I talked to a lot of players from Sweden as well that I played with here. So, you know, this place has been special for me.
And what do you remember from the expectance going into the seasons? Back then it was pretty much, if we could make the playoffs, then we're doing well. As a team, you probably had higher expectations, but do you remember anything about that, and what kind of pressure that meant?
It was, you know, for me, I've always had the highest expectations on myself to be the best I can be. And going into the city like Luleå, you know, I knew the pressure is going to be big on myself and on a team to make, you know, the playoffs, to make to win the games, to win the championship, whatever it was. It was really high. So that always, even when I played in the NHL, even when I played in for a national team, like the more pressure I had on myself, the better I competed and the better I performed. So that was something that I really thrived on, is, you know, having that pressure on myself from, you know, media, from team, from everything. So it was I knew Sweden was really good hockey. I knew, you know, Swedish league was very tough, but until I got here and I played the league, back then when I played, like, it was very, very, very similar hockey to the NHL, because if you look at, you know, the Swedish league back then, a lot of former NHL guys still play here, and or the former Swedish guys that played in NHL and just like, you know, I just want to go back home. So they were here. But a lot of new young kids that were 18 and 17 and 19, they were still in the league here, developing, going to, so like the quality was ridiculous back then. Like when I came here, I was like, holy smokes, like that's something, you know, like, and it was great. So it was really good to be here and to be part of all this, because a lot of kids that I played with and they were young and 18, 19, they're still in the NHL now. So that I played with, and, you know, here in Swedish. And so it was good.
And it was same here. We had you guys experience, you, Michael Renberg, Janne Sandström, and Jonas Nordqvist, and those kind of guys. And then we also had upcoming guys like Omar, Harju, Robin Lindqvist, Wallgren, Lidhammar, a lot of young guys.
Oh, yeah. You know, I look back now and I just you're looking at the lineup, you're like, holy smokes. Like, I mean, it was something special that was, you know, here. And then it was very, very nice to be part of this, because it felt like you're at the mountain, you know, you're at the top of the level that you're playing at. And, you know, it's not easy to play. And you're surrounded with people that are or been at the top. And, you know, it was really nice to be part of something that, like, here in Luleå or in Sweden, that outside of the NHL.
And if we look at the seasons, we didn't have very much, like, if we look at the playoffs, we went out in the quarterfinals 3 out of 4 years, and 1 year we even were on the verge of having to qualify to stay in the league. We weren't that competitive as we wanted to be or dreamed to be, but now we are in a totally different spot.
Yeah, you know, like, I always look back into that stuff, because, like, when I coach kids now, you know, I always look back, and when I talk to the kids, like, what is it about the championship? Like, when you're winning the championship, what is it when you win the games? So how do I talk to the kids so they understand it? So I look back, like, to my career, like when I was part of a championship teams, when we won, you know, not like the world championship, we went to the Olympics, we lost the bronze medal game. So, like, you don't get that many in your hockey career if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And then, but you have to look back, like, what is it that's really special about that year, that team, that takes that team to the championship, right? And then I look back when I was playing, you know, in KHL, with, it was during the lockout year, played on Dynamo Moscow. We won the league. What was it about? Did we have the best team? No, we did not. There was, back then, the Kazan had the best team on the paper. They brought all the NHL guys, and guess what? We beat them in the first round. So, what is it why all these things happening and why we didn't win a championship? Well, if I look back, you got to have every single one on the team that really shares the same goal, really goes about, what our biggest, value is today. What is our purpose? What do we have? And if you don't have that out of, 25 kids, if you don't have 25 of them, plus the coaching, plus everyone around it, then it's really, really hard to win anything. Because if you have even one guy that is not bought in, you're just never going to make it, because that one opportunity, that one moment that comes down to, winning or losing, that might be it. So it's very interesting when you see that. And, now I see that winning championship is really hard. And then, just to give you an example, Swedish league is absolutely probably the most even league. If you look at, the bottom team could win anytime with the top team. And the top team, doesn't mean that you're the top during the season, you're going to win the championship in the playoffs. So it's very, very, interesting that way. But to winning the championship, it takes time, first of all. I see, for example, I coach 2011 birth year team that's 12, 13 years old, right? So this season we started, very, very shaky. Very shaky. We started, went to our first tournament, the way in America works, we're not in a full season. Our team, we only play tournaments. So we go every weekend, we go to the tournament, and we do 5-4 games, and depending on how many you win, you go to championship or you don't. So first, tournament did really poorly, and then our team was solid, but it was not. Everyone was going, the way should. So halfway through the season, we got rid of some kids because, in the youth hockey in America, even parents you're looking at. So we had some parents that weren't really going. So I'm well, if we want to get something, the environment in the locker room is not good. So this kid is not doing us a favor. So okay, we're going to cut him. So we cut him, and it changed. Now, last 3 tournaments that we kind of shake up the team, lost 3 tournaments. Every tournament we went to championship game. But first tournament we lost. Second tournament we lost. And it was just always something that was missing, right? And then last tournament before I came here, we were in Boston, and we went to championship. We we won first game, lost second game, lost third game, but then we won the semifinals because we were, and then went to the finals and won that game. So it's just kind of funny to see it's not always you're going to win after every tournament, but you learn from every single one. And last tournament we did win, and it came down to those little opportunities that even the players that were not getting as much ice time, they were part of the team, they were cheering, and they were everyone was in. So winning championship is really hard, and sometimes it might not happen, So, but if you're part of the team that really shares the same goal and have the same purpose, you have a great chance to win it. I'm not saying you're going to win it, but you have a great chance to win it because there's only one team can win, and that's the hardest part in any sport if you look at it. And then, looking back to our team, we had a great team. We had, every tool, but just looking back to it, the other teams that won the championships were just better.
Yep.
Simple as that. Not necessarily hockey-wise, but maybe something else. But it just, I wish that we would have brought the championship here because we had, the environment was great, the staff was great. Everything from taking care of the players was, it was top-notch. But at the same time, it takes years, and then guess what? I left, and there was a few years later, the championship was brought to Luleå, right? And they built it, and then it's here. So,
yep. Not the Swedish championship though, but we got the Champions League and European trophy.
Yeah.
And we made some finals also. But when you were here on an artist contract, meaning you couldn't be here for a full season. How was that for you? Was it perfect to be able to be with the family, or would you have preferred to be with the team all the way from early August and on?
I mean, again, from selfish perspective, when I look back to it, it was great for me. It was back home with my family, like preparing for, for the season. But from the other side of, like the hockey, I wish that I would have gone to be here from the first day of hockey. Because again, if you really want to accomplish something, first you have to build the team around, and then you have to build the bonding that you want to create with the team, And for me coming in, for 6 months, I literally walked into the season right away. Like after was that first 10 games or something?
Yeah, something
so
like
that part, it was really hard to jump in right away and just not practice with the team, not be with the team. It's hard. And I wish I was, I would be able to be here from the first day. But again, there are some circumstances that, wouldn't let me. So I had to do that. That's it, period. But yes, absolutely. That's something that, I would have, loved to be here in the summers. Because I've always came here when it was really cold, right?
Yeah.
Like in the winter. But summers, all I heard after I came here is oh yeah, we had a great this, it was awesome here. I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have been here, and I wish that my family would have experienced it as well, because we love wherever we it was great here in the winters, but summers better when it's warmer. But yeah, for me it was I wish I would have been here. Rough from the beginning.
I don't know if you remember this, but you always had a big impact coming the first games, even though you didn't have a chance to practice with the team. I know in the 07-08 season we played Skellefteå away. We won 3-1. You had 2 assists against the Renberg. You took a 10-minute misconduct in the end. You took a bow and then went off the ice. I don't know if you remember this.
Well, I remember when I came. I don't remember that. I remember when I came here, and then Mika went to Skellefteå, and then my game when I came there, and I remember that the warm up I came in, and the whole back of the the side that we were warming up, there was a big sign, says in Swedish, and it was 1,000 was numbered there, and of course I couldn't I couldn't read the Swedish, so I'm and all the players were laughing, and it's yeah, great job, Lubos, and I'm I can't read that. Can somebody tell me what it is? And it says my name, and then it says 1,000, and then it says something in Swedish, and then it says Mika Renberg. And Janne Sandström was yeah. I'm what did it say? And it's yeah, it says Mika Renberg is 1,000 times better than Lubos Bartecko. I was oh, that's why everyone's laughing. So it was funny that the dynamics between the fans and all that. I love that. For me it was that part does not, it didn't really get to me, the fans, the booing, whatever. If it was there, it didn't bother me. That didn't really do anything to me, except it kind of got me going, because it's just, I love playing in that environment. I love that when people were cheering for us or people were against, right? So that part was really, for me, it was fun.
And the season after that, the first 9 games, we had 1 win. We were all the way down in the standings. I think they brought you in earlier than what was expected. You play Frölunda. We win 8-2. You have 4 points.
Again, for me, it was coming in here, I always had, I've always wanted to come here. And I remember that because I started my first 10 games, I always went back to Slovakia. So I would be, in a game 1. So I signed, with that team, and I played first 10 games there. And, of course, I was paying attention what was going on in Luleå. And, that year, I remember, we were down, losing. So they're we'll bring you in. It's great. So, I was excited. I was kind of watching it, and it was my team losing it, and I could not be there and help the team. It was killing me, right? So I was we need, it was hard. But then, let's go in. And then I went there, and I was just like, that excitement just brought in. And, you know, and this is what I'm talking about. Like when you have, you know, something that, you know, piece of the puzzle that comes in, and maybe that piece is missing, and it's just like all of a sudden it just starts changing, and you know, it just goes to a different mode and just change the whole. It's not because the team is, you know, bad or something. It's not. Just maybe that one piece of a puzzle that needs to be brought in or is missing. And that's what it is, just, you know, to get through. And then there's another piece that, you know, needs to go in the playoffs to get through that. And then there's another piece that you need to add to win the championship. And, you know, all these things that we're talking about, those puzzles that, you know, need to bring the championship or win games, that's all there is. And if you can find all these puzzles together, then you get the championship. But yeah, for me, it was, I remember those, you know, those days, and it was the best thing. Like always, the first game was like, it's like a steroid shot, right? Like you come in and it's just like you get that in, and it's just like you're so energetic and you're so ready to go, and it was great.
And I guess that's why fans have a lot of love for you also, because of the impact that you made. It stands out.
I mean, you know, this is why this was one of the reasons why I came here. When you called me, it's like, do you want? I'm like, it was no question for me. Like, you know, when you have that feeling and you have that love for the game and love for the city and for the management and for the fans, that, you know, they give that appreciation, they give you that love back. You know, there was no question for me to come back and share that again with them, you know, tonight's game or today's game, and give that back, because this is what, you know, the players or athletes, this is why we do all this. You know, yes, win a championship, but also the memories and, you know, the things that you do after for the fans, for the kids, and for everyone else. And this is why we do all this.
And I guess the toughest spot, if we go there, was the year where we faced having to qualify for relegations. We were counted out the last couple of games, but managed to have a chance for the last round, and it all went to overtime, and it was your buddy Surovi for Linköping that scored against Mora. Do you remember that time and that kind of pressure that was?
Oh my gosh, I remember that. We played the game. We did what on our end was supposed to do. We had a great game, but it was just like you win the game and then it's silent, right? Because you're kind of like, you're waiting for somebody else to do your job that you're supposed to do. And, you know, it just like, it was, I remember that we were here, and then we were sitting in, I was sitting in the trainer's room and watching the game and listening to the game, and it's just like, and then all of a sudden Suro scored, and just like, you know, like this whole arena and everything, it just went like crazy. So that was, you know, the feeling, and you know, I remember talking to him, and I'm like, thanks for all that, but it was really, really interesting that, you know, like there's nothing really at that moment that we could do. We did win that game. We did sit there, and then we were just waiting for someone else to do our job, and you know, it happened. And I'm a big believer of, I don't believe in luck. I believe everything happens for a reason. Whatever you do, the choices we make, and you know, Suro was part of our club, and you know, he scored a goal, and he was, I guess he wanted to help, you know, us, and it was not a good luck or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, for us, it was great. But I remember, and those are the times that, you know, you really remember and you want to talk about all the time. So, and here we are.
Yeah, and I guess there must have been quite a lot of pressure, because if you look back at those final games, it was pretty much the young guys that stepped up. It was Robin Lindqvist and those guys. Maybe they didn't have the worries that an older guy probably has, like carrying a team. Oh
yeah, you know, and it is always like that, and especially in those games, like, you know, you have your best players should be your best players, but again, it comes down to like everyone has to step in, right? And sometimes the best players are not the best players, and if you have those young kids that come in and there's no pressure and they just play the game and they come along, and you know, we kind of help them get there, and then they did that, and then they've been phenomenal since then, you know, right? So like it's really good to see that other players and the especially young players stepped in and did the job, and it was awesome.
And then after your time in Luleå, you went to Switzerland to play for Bern, and then you ended up in Färjestad, and you ended up in Modo. How was it coming back playing here then?
Oh, it was awesome. It was, I went to Switzerland. It was great. It was great. We had a great time there. But again, there's rules that, there's imports, how many you want to play. But then, I just felt like I wanted to come back to Sweden and play here, and I did, and it was great. We had a great time in Färjestad. We had a great time in Modo. Again, Modo was one of those things where they brought us in that they wanted us to help them to stay in the Swedish league. We did, and it was great. So it was great. Another 2 years to be in Sweden and be part of it.
And when you look back at your career, I think you've been to 6 World Championships, you played 3 Olympic Games, you've been the captain for the Slovak team, you played in the NHL, and also you played here. How do you look back on your career?
It's, I've always looked back as a great experience for me, and I've experienced every level, every top level that you can possibly imagine, right? You play NHL, then you play KHL, then you play Swedish League, national team, you play the Olympics. So like I've been everywhere. I've been, fortunate enough to be part of, those years that we've had really good success, and I led the team, as a captain. And again, captain, it was, it's not something that, every player gets to do. And, I was fortunate enough that, they gave me that C, and, like the team, and they trusted me to be their leader, and, it was great. So like I've looked at it as, I always tell everyone now, like it's not what you do, it's who you surrounded with and who you learn from and how you're going to take it, right? So if you're surrounded with players that really are the best and you learn from it, then you're going to take that with you, and it's going to carry you. Because you don't have to be the best player. You don't have to be the most skilled player. And I've never was that. Like, I say it, like, it's funny that I've never been, the superstar that the teams have in the NHL. I've never been that. But I was surrounded with the best leaders in the league. Like, like you're looking back and, Chris Pronger, Al McInnes, Zdeno Chara, right? Like Pavel Dimitrov, Pierre Turgeon. Like you look at, Grant Fuhrer, like the greatest goalie, of all time. So like you're looking at, Ziggy Palffy, Peter Bondra. Like I can go on and on and on. So like I've had the best opportunity. I'm very, very thankful to, be part of that. And then, like, oh my gosh, like I go back to Sweden, right? Like, I mean, with one of the greatest Swedish players, like I've played with, like a lot of them, like in Luleå and Färjestad and Modo, like I mean, surrounded with just like Micke Renberg, like Peter Forsberg in Modo, like Färjestad, Johnson, what was his name? He was a red hair guy. Jürgen, yeah. So like he was the Swedish people, the nicest. Like I've learned a lot from them, not just hockey wise, but also how to be a leader, how to be the guy in a locker room, and how to. It was looking back, like I would not change anything except looking in the mirror and what I can do better. And those are the things that I have learned over the career. For me, it was too late to change them, right? So like now I want to, give back to the young, and then give back, I have son, and talking to them about it, like what can you do to be the best you can be? So, but looking back in my career, I would not change a thing.
And you played with guys like Sandström, Fabricius,
oh
Anders Burström, also great leaders in their own way, without maybe being the top players on the team.
Oh yeah, like, and this is the fun part, like, it's very similar to me, right? Like I was saying, like I was never the best player and, like the best skilled guy. But, you come to the team like Luleå. Those guys never made it to the NHL, right? Or never played national team, in a sense. But on a team like here, like you look at, Burström, like he was probably one of the best leaders, again, here. And was he the best player? No, but he was the best. He knew how to lead, right? And then you have Janne Sandström, like I said, right next to him, in the locker room, and like I had the best time. And he was quiet. He was a little quiet, but like he was probably one of the nicest guys that I've played with, and like never got mad. Like when he got mad, he was mad, but he was always like listening. And and then on my right side I had Mikael Renberg, who played a long time in the NHL, and then I was sitting right next to him, which I was looking up to him when he was in the NHL playing, in the Legion of Doom with, you have those guys, and then you have, all the other guys like Carl Fabricius, right? And then Harju and all these guys. It's amazing what you can do with everything what you have. And, it goes down to, you want to be the guy, it's not always about the hockey. It's always, about how you treat other people, how you talk to them, how good of a teammate you are, how, you're coachable and all these things. And all these things will come back to you. And like being here now, I look back and it's like, this is really nice that people really recognize and give you that, status and give you that feedback and, like give you like, yeah, come to Luleå. We want to recognize what you have done here. And I'm very, very, and, it's awesome to be here.
We're recording this before the game. What do you expect from going out through the Bears' head once again?
This is the one thing that I've always talked about everyone. And it's funny that you say, that I'm here and you say like going through that bear, because my daughter, who's 12 years old, and she plays hockey, she has never been here. She has never experienced the atmosphere here. She has never experienced the energy that, Swedish people and Luleå Hockey Club, the fans bring. And I told, I always talk about like, and even my wife, she's no hockey, but like, this is what she talks about, like the energy, the atmosphere and the one thing that, the players were coming out of that bear head and, they play your, song that you put out there and the fans are cheering. This is something that people don't understand. Like, if you don't experience it, you will never get the excitement, right? Like, you will never get that feeling and this is something that I'm looking forward to today is, just coming out and see the fans and see, how loud they are, how energetic. And, I told my daughter, like, wait until you see that. That's going to be something. It's nothing like you experience in America, nothing like you experience in anywhere in the world. This is the best place to be. And when you're going to be here, make sure you record that on the phone because that's going to last longer.
That sounds really good. Thanks for taking the time to do this podcast, and best of luck with tonight and everything in the future. And maybe we'll see you here down the line. Maybe if your daughter is coming here to play for our team in a couple of years, you never know. Oh,
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been pleasure to be here and talking to you again, and I'd love to come back here and do whatever, maybe visit again, and maybe my daughter will play hockey. I don't know, but like it's been great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.